Listen, you know what time it is. It's time for another episode of your favorite new podcast entitled
We Hate You, Internet!
And we are back in this thing once again, live from the Panorama Brand Studios here in Houston, Texas. Houston's premier podcast studio. This is We Hate You Internet. It's a podcast designed to bring awareness to some of the negative effects of the internet on our lives, as well as celebrate the beautiful simplicity of our humanity. I'm Wilfred Hamilton, your host, sitting alongside me. Like I said, I finally got used to him. She has the bangs on. You know what I mean? She did last time she snuck up on me, you know what I'm saying? I thought I had to get ready. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know who that would run up on me. But this time I was like, oh yeah, it's Clarita, you know what I'm saying? She out here, you know what I'm saying? The banged assassin. Her name is
Clara Irre. Hello, hello.
Clara Irre is in the building.
This is the banged assassin.
Come on, man. I said, because she had a mask on.
Oh, yeah.
She come out. Anyway, oh goodness, we feeling silly today apparently. So, want to also always just say thank you for all the support that we have garnered thus far in this journey. Great, really appreciative, and just really, it's even surprising sometimes how far we've come in such a short time. All the comments, all the support. Speaking of support, I've had a couple of people come to us and me and ask, how can we support the platform? How can we give you guys some support? It takes a lot of work, to put this production together, a lot of late nights and early mornings. And if you'd like to support us, you can just buy us a cup of coffee. There's a link in the bio. It's a platform that's designed just to support creators. And so you buy, you can donate the amount that would cost you a cup of coffee, and we greatly appreciate anything that you could give us. May help us, give us the energy and strength we need to keep on going. So, like I said, link in the bio. Buy me a coffee.
Buy me a coffee too.
Come on now, she needs some too, doggone it. You can spare two cups of Joe, huh? Links in the bio. We greatly appreciate it. So, for today, we're going to be talking about manhood, masculinity. You know what I'm saying? I call it Manhood 101. I remember in episode 2, Clara made a statement, while we were talking about dating and courting and things of that nature, male and female relationships and compatibility. And I made a statement about that there being a attack on masculinity in our society. And she said, well, what is masculinity? You know what I mean? And I'm getting a signal saying you're not loud enough. And you need to pull the mic up a little bit. And now I'm saying perfect. They're saying perfect. Okay, I'm good now. We're talking about manhood, masculinity. What is a man? The title is Manhood 101. Anyway, she asked the question, like, what is masculinity? You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of misconceptions on what it means to be a man. Mm-hmm. And I got to think to myself, like, man, that's a really interesting question. And I thought about answering it or like doing an episode quite some time ago about it, but we had some other things that we were discussing, so I figured this would be a good time to kind of talk about it. I have 3 boys of my own, and so this is something that's really important to me to be able to clearly define what it means to be a man. So I would start off by saying first, and it's 2023, so there's a lot of things going on in the streets, but in order to be a man, you have to be first a male. And as with a lot of the debates and things that are going on in the streets with transgenderism and all the isms and the communities and all that kind of jazz, first and foremost, I would like to state that, on our platform, we speak truth. We're not, we are very careful, very careful not to be bigoted, not to downplay or discredit anybody's humanity, people's ability to choose, As a human being, you have a right to choose and do whatever it is that you want to do. But I think that we are in a slippery slope in our society because when you understand the word society, it just means where a group of people have a standardized ideology or a standard of how we judge. You can't have society without that standard. Where our standard as human beings is concerned, it comes from our studies of biology and chemistry, things that are proven. And I think that without those things, there's no way that we can connect. And as we talked about multiple times on our platform, and we will talk about moving forward, human beings need other human beings. We have to be connected. We're not designed to be solitary creatures. So then there has to be a standard by which we can judge a thing. That's the only way that we can stay connected. And so the attack on biology and things of that nature, people doing what they want to do, like I said, hey, listen, human beings, people have choices, they can make their own choices. But I think that it's very important that there is a standard by which we judge a thing, right or wrong, left or right, whatever the case may be. And when people start to try to change without any credible evidence, start trying to change based on perception or personal feelings or personal viewpoints, we change the standards by which we judge a thing or the names and words which we call a thing. You're entering a very, very dangerous place. Forget the specific topic, like the idea itself. If we talked about it, say, hey, we're going to start calling, I don't like calling dogs. I don't want to call them a dog. I want to call them a flower. And they're like, wait a minute. Like, if everybody's not on agreement, understand, like, okay, we calling dogs flowers now? Okay. But if it's like, no, the dog, it's a flower. Like, it causes chaos, confusion, and separation, which leads to isolation, which leads to some very, very ugly and dangerous things. And so I will come back down the main road. And so like I said, in order to be a man, you have to first be a male. I would say that's the first thing. Second thing, because at the end of the day, based on biology, based on chemistry, male and females are created differently. They're not the same. We are both human beings, but we have different chemicals in our body. Obviously, like I said, principle being testosterone and estrogen. I am aware that we both have both, but the amounts with which we produce in our bodies are different for a reason. They affect the way that we operate. They affect the way that our brains operate, the way that we process information, the way that we process threats, the way that we, like I said, it comes down to our very biology, how we operate, and there's a reason for that. It is because, like, we are complementary pairs, just like almost everything else in nature. They are complementary pairs. Males and females in nature operate differently because they have different roles in order for that species to continue. And like that, that's just the facts. And this is not about trying to make some type of political statement. It's about trying to come back to the middle ground and try to find a way to have a sensible conversation. Have a sensible conversation, so that we can communicate and compare thoughts. If the standard by which we communicate is based on how I feel versus what you feel, then there's no way that we will ever be able to come to a common understanding. So, I said all that to try to set the table for all the other stuff I'll be talking about. So, got to be a male. The second thing is you got to be strong. And when I mean strong, most people automatically go to the physical, but really it comes down all overall strength. I see in our society, and I'm gonna pass it to Claire. I'm gonna let you touch on some stuff. I'm sure you have things you want to say. In our society, there is, and this is what I would say. This is what I see, and I think that it's something that people can agree with, and they say I think it's a simple thing to observe. I think that there is a concerted effort. Why, I'm not 100% sure, but there's a concerted effort to blur the lines between male and female. They want to create a world where we're all the same. We all operate the same. We think the same. We move the same. And in that process, there is a desire to decrease the idea of masculinity. And what I mean by masculinity is this idea that's attached to promiscuity and physical strength and bravado and all that kind of stuff. And like, that's not it though. I think that some of that stuff is rooted in immaturity. The idea of like conquest, and people who have hurt feelings and they're trying to promote to a community of weak individuals, if we just keep it real. And that goes right back to the point that I'm making, is that there is a depreciation of masculinity. That's the reason why you have content like that, and that's the reason why it's so popular. Is because you have a generation of young men who feel weak, who don't know what it's like, how to properly utilize their masculinity, what it means to be a man, and how that needs to be displayed. And so then they're going to this content, the Andrew Tate stuff. And he, like I said, I'm not trying to get into that. But there's a lot of platforms and channels that are taking advantage of this deficiency, and they're promoting a message that is not necessarily healthy for the development of a young man. I'm gonna take a pause because I've been talking for a long time. I'm gonna let the Banged Assassin have a stab. Go ahead, Mom.
Wow, that was a lot.
It was a lot.
No, but it. I think I get what you're saying though. I think I do. It's just, man. So what I'll say is this: like, I understand where you're coming from, but I also think, I think back to like this interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson and what's his name, Theo Von. Mm-hmm. I think Theo Von had asked Neil deGrasse Tyson, "Is the universe gay?" Because he's a man of the universe. He studies galaxies. He studies all that stuff, and he responds, "It's a spectrum. Like there's so much. Everything exists in the universe." And I think that I really like how you said it, because at the end of the day, we've never, I think we've always celebrated the fact that a human is an individual and you can make your choices. You can exist. You have every right to exist and be respected and loved. And I also respect the fact that for the sake of the conversation, this is what we're going to specifically talk about. Because I think it's important to recognize, I think heterosexual relationships suffer because of this. Like, there is a huge disconnect between a straight woman and a straight man. And there's it's such a huge, it's so much frustration on both ends. Like, you have a lot of women who don't understand why it seems like men feel like they're asking for too much. Like, they feel like men these days, they don't want to provide, or they don't see a value in a woman. They don't see value in women. They don't see value. The first thing they ask is, what do you bring to the table? And even when it comes to things like dating or courting, they don't see value in it. And I think it's important to, again, for the sake of the conversation and for the sake of this disconnect and this, no one's meeting each other's needs because they're not understanding how to even approach it, Mm-hmm. I think it's important to discuss, because you're right. Like, we see it all the time. Like, there's so many young men who feel like they don't have a space to be a man, I think. And it's funny because I saw the Barbie movie.
She saw the Barbie
I saw the Barbie movie. And I hate to say it, but I didn't really like it all that much. For other reasons, I didn't really like it all that much. It was just hard for me to pay attention. That could be because I just have problems paying attention. But I had a hard time paying attention. But one of the points that I think that a lot of people, they kind of fly by, in the movie, Ken, he tries to make Barbie Land into a patriarchy, and that's something that he's pushing forward. But essentially, all it is because he didn't have a space to be a man. And I was having a conversation with my coworker, actually, not too long ago, and we were talking about how there's been a rise in young boys being conservative men, and they're conservative, traditional. There's just been a rise. And he sent a video to a group chat that we have, and he was talking about it a little bit. And after thinking about it for a while, I think it's kind of like this. For a while, when women were fighting for the right to vote, they were wanting to go to work. They felt like they were oppressed. They didn't feel like they were. What resulted is them becoming more liberal. They studied, they went to school, they did all these things. And I feel like it's kind of like the inverse of that, Like now men are feeling like they are being pushed down, which may not be the case in my opinion, because, we do live in a world that is designed by men for men. Maybe not all men, depending on what your skin color is, and what your last name sounds like and where you come from. But, to come back to let me come back. I think that that's a result from like how people are feeling. I think you're right. I think that we have to recognize it in order to address it. We have to be able to say, because there is like the only reason that these tater tots exist. That's what I call Andrew Tate fans, tater tots. The only reason
I just said we ain't our internet.
I know. It's cute. Come on. It's not an insult.
It's cute. Copy that.
The reason they exist is because they feel strongly about this. They feel strongly about the fact that men, we don't respect men, or men are not like we don't have a society that allows a man to be a man. I don't think that's the case. I think what it is emotion regulation. I think it's the ability to like recognize the trauma you have. Just because one girl broke your heart in the 3rd grade doesn't mean every girl is gonna do that to you. Or just because one girl or girl or guy did something to you that you didn't like, not everyone operates that way. You have to be willing to open up again. That's just how life is. But I think that it's, and I won't take too long because I want to pass it over to you. I think you have some really good points, but I think it's true. I think that it's really sad to think about because I feel like we're suffering because of that. Again, I feel like relationships are suffering because of that. I feel like it's so much harder to find a person to connect with and establish a life with because of that, So.
Yeah, straight up. You know what I'm saying? So I want to try to grab a little bit of, take a bite of some of this meat. Like, I was thinking to myself, okay, what are some of the things that I try to teach my sons about being a man, right? Because just because you're a male doesn't mean that you are a man. I'm speaking from a psychological perspective. You know what I'm saying? Biologically, I get it, the term. I'm talking about psychologically, going from being a boy, which is a male, to being a man. You know what I mean? Because a lot of things that when you try to teach your children, there are things that you teach them that are for their future. It's not for them for where they are right now. When they're children, as you're teaching you're training them. You're training them for when they become adults. When you become a man, I'm teaching you principles that you will utilize when you become a man. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And so I thought to myself, okay, in order for a boy to become a man, in order for a person to consider themselves a man, they have to develop their abilities. And by abilities, I mean capability, dependability, and accountability. That's the start. I mean, I think those 3 things you have to master in order for you to consider yourself a man. And real fast, I want to kind of go over those things. So capability, right? You have to be capable of developing the skills necessary to provide a way in life for yourself and for those you're responsible for, right? And so that means their well-being, feeding yourself, you're clothing yourself, sheltering yourself, protecting yourself, and then those who are under your that you're responsible for. You have to develop the skills in order to be able to do that. That's a part of your process of becoming a man. You have to have that capacity, the capability to be able to do that. And like I said, that's a process that you go through life. And I'm not saying just because you're an older person and you live with your parents, you can still be a man and be living with your parents. You know what I'm saying? Because there may be a part of the plan as far as you building up that capability. You see what I'm saying? With my children, you know what I'm saying? I told them, hey man, listen, I got a 20-year-old son, an 18-year-old son, 16-year-old son, and then a 14-year-old daughter. No, she does not have me wrapped around her finger, like people always say. Tell the girl, go out there and cut that grass. No. But I ain't no punk though. But no, but like I tell my kids, like, listen, I want you to stay with me as long as possible. You know what I'm saying? Like, stack your money and go through and like you have a safety net and a safe place to go through the maturation process to become an adult. You know what I mean? You got to pay no bills. Like I'm a man. I take care of all this stuff. I don't need you paying. Get you a job, stack your money, and like learn, make your mistakes in life, figure out how to like properly handle your finances, how to budget stuff, but go through the process. But it takes a wise person to be able to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to understand, I'm not supposed to be here forever. This is just an opportunity for me that I can take advantage of to help me move forward in the space. You know what I'm saying? So you can be a mature, responsible adult and still be living with your parents if you understand the vision for your overall life. That takes maturity. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that. Capability, right? Dependability, trustworthiness. You know what I mean? You need to be a person that people can trust. They trust your word. They can trust your actions. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be fickle and be a man. You make mistakes. Men don't, you don't always, like, things happen. But for the most part, you need to be a man of your word. You people hear that term all the time, be a man of your word, right? Like, you have to be dependable because you're going to have people in your life, whether you get married and have children or not, whether you're working in a corporation, if you run a business, if you're an employee, in your family period, your mother and your father, like your family, your siblings, there's always going to be somebody that's going to need to depend on you. They're going to need to be able to like reach out and they know that you're going to be there. Like, these are the things that define a man. So, second ability, dependability. You have to be trustworthy. You know what I mean? If I tell you something, you shouldn't go run around like a punk. I gotta say it, like a daggone punk, running your mouth, telling everybody your secrets, like chitter chatter, like. And I don't want to stereotype girls, but a lot of times girls have an issue with gossiping. You know what I'm saying? And guys are starting to pick up on that mess too. And it's not good for anybody. You know what I'm saying? You need to be trustworthy with information. Somebody could be like, say, if I tell you something, you're not gonna run around and blabbing it all over the place. That's a sign of maturity. And a lot of these things can work both ways for men and women. I mean, yeah, men and women. You see what I'm saying? But it's just the way that it's certain differences in the ways that it's approached as a man versus as a woman. You see what I'm saying? Because we talked about that as far as gender roles and biologically, we talking about people get together and do different things. Whatever worked for them is kind of like, hey, whatever. Because everybody got different needs and blah, 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 blah. That's not my topic, so I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to go down that road. But, so yeah, you need to be trustworthy, man. And that's something that you have to value within yourself. The third ability, accountability. And this is the one that people, man, cats, this is the one, when you cross this line and you can say, okay, I'm a man. You know what I'm saying? When you are able to be accountable, when you're able to be held accountable, to be liable for what you say, what you do. You know what I'm saying? A man don't walk around trying to make excuses all the time. And that's vitally important because I'm gonna wrap this all thing up as far as why these things are important. Listen, and I'm gonna keep it real. And this is something I was thinking about while I was driving. I was getting all in a tizzy, getting all upset and frustrated. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like one day I'm gonna get into my whole story, but I'm just gonna give like a little. Just a little
snippet.
Yeah, just a little touch. You know what I'm saying? Just a little appetizer. Like, I grew up in a home that was a result of divorce, right? Broken home, right? I had a stepfather who should have been certifiably insane. That man was crazy. He was on some other stuff. We could sit there for hours talking about some of the crazy stuff that man has said and done. My siblings, if they see this, they know exactly what time it is. We laugh about it now, but yeah, man, we have some stories that we tell. But and my father, I love him, He didn't grow up in our home, but he never abandoned us. That's one thing I will always say and give honor to my father for. He was always around. I knew where he was. It was never a situation where he just vanished. He wasn't in our house every day. I didn't talk to him every day. There were things in my life that he wasn't there to do because he wasn't in the vicinity. But I always knew where my father was, and I feel like I was blessed for that because a lot of people that don't know who their father is at all. You know what I'm saying? But that has an effect on things because you don't have a man in the house to how to pattern yourself after look at. I have an older brother, and he did the best he could to try to be a man as a boy. You know what I'm saying? And like I commend him for that highly because he was put in a tough spot, as an 11 and 12-year-old kid, and to feel like he had to have a responsibility for his younger siblings, he did the best that he could. And he has a lot. He had a lot of trauma and stuff as a result of that. Because who wouldn't, right? Mm-hmm. But I have a great amount of respect for my brother, more now than I did when I was younger, because I felt like he was an oppressor then. Kids raising kids, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I said I have a great amount of respect for my brother now. I say all that to say, like I didn't have this constant male figure in my life, so I had to figure these things out as I got older. You know what I mean? I got married young. I was 18 when I got married. We've been married for 21 years. So, I love you, babe.
Shut up.
22, yeah, straight up. I love you, sweetest. But we've been married for 22 years in December. And the reason why I'm pointing these things out is because I'm not just some random cat talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
I know what it is to be a man because I've lived it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't abandon my family like what I saw, like so many people do. I didn't waste my time in my 20s running around trying to bed everything that moved and trying to prove my masculinity, wasting time like a lot of people do. You know what I'm saying? This is not me on my high horse. I'm pointing out, say, this is what it means to be a man. This is how you should have a sustainable life as a man.
Yeah.
Now, I said all that to say this. Listen, gentlemen, we have a lot of male followers. Listen, the world don't care about you. Stop crying, complaining, whining, right? You have emotions. You're a real human being. Men get sad, men cry. You know what I'm saying? Like, you feel betrayed, you feel alone. All those things are legitimate things. I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm not trying to play the masculinity button, G.I. Joe, go and fight and kill. Man, forget that. You know what I'm saying? You deal with your emotions because they're real, but deal with them. You see what I'm saying? And then you're going to have to start holding yourself accountable to make sound decisions, you know what I mean? And work on your abilities, right? You have to start holding yourself accountable to be capable. You have to start putting in the work to be a capable individual. Stop looking for handouts. Stop looking for everybody trying to help you and hold your hand, because that's what society is creating. That's the issue. It's creating these young men, or it's training young men to just put their hand out like a damsel in distress, right? It's a puddle. Someone put a coat down. Like, cats don't know, like, and I'm using it as a figure, but like, men can't function like that. You see what I'm saying? Like a woman, like, listen, biologically, we talked about this, and I'm getting kind of hyped because it's important, man. Like, women are naturally weaker than men. The reason, and I point that out, right? Because as a man, you have to understand your position. That's the issue. You talk about dating. That's the issue, is that men don't understand their position in our biological ecosystem. And our society does not support a man's position because they want to try to make a world where everybody feels safe. They want to make a world where women feel safe. And like, I don't have to worry. I can go outside in the dark and like in the middle of the street and like, no worry. Everybody's like, there's no danger. It ain't gonna never work that way. You see what I'm saying? Like, if a person break into your house, like, it's a shame if you hiding behind your wife. Why? Because you're stronger than her. That's why. Training aside, I know people do jiu-jitsu. You know what I'm saying? So cat get down, like, say, she maybe whoop that cat. I don't know. But I'm just talking about nature, random woman, random man. Like, a man is gonna be stronger. He is designed to be the strong one. And so you have to understand that mentality and take it across the board. Like, you have to be the strong one. If you want to court with some young lady, you have to be the strong one, not just physical muscles, but mentally you have to be the strong one. You have to be the capable one. You have to be the dependable one. She needs to be able to trust you. And if you can encompass these abilities, capability, dependability, accountability, then you won't need all of this masculinity content, because you will be confident in yourself because I know I'm capable. I know I'm trustworthy. And that's a valuable thing in the world. It don't matter in what situation you're dealing with in life. For a person to be trustworthy, they are a valuable individual. And I'm accountable. I'm not a coward. I don't run from stuff. I stand 10 toes down and I stand on my decisions. I stand on my word. If I say this, I'm going to do this. If I said this, I'm going to say that's what I said. If I did this, that's what I did. And if I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong for what I did. Because I'm not afraid, I'm not a coward to like admit that I was wrong. You know what I'm saying? I'm strong enough. That's what I mean by strong. I am strong enough to say, hey, that's my bad. I don't have to run around with this fake armor on, try to act like I'm tough, but you too scared to be vulnerable. You too scared to be real. You too scared to like be accountable. You see what I'm saying? This is what a man is. Our time is up. Ooh, look at that time. We're going to wrap this puppy up. Maybe we'll have a part 2. I don't know.
Yeah, this is. I like this.
It's pretty dope, huh? Mm-hmm. We want to leave you with this. Thank you for all the support. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Stay human.
Yeah.
We did good.